The Mayor of London has consistently made this argument. I think clean air is a human right, not a privilege. Sadiq Khan S.
A plan to deliver this is Ulez, the ultra-low emission zone within Ulez. People who drive older, more polluting vehicles are charged £12.50 a day. It was introduced back in 2019 in central London. It was expanded in 2021 and now there are plans to expand again to cover this area to include 5 million more people from the 29th of August, and that's meeting opposition. There have been protests against the expansion. Ulez cameras have been vandalized and it's become political too. Sadiq Khan is from the Labour Party. His predecessor as mayor was Boris Johnson, a Conservative. It was Mr. Johnson who announced the introduction of Ulez in 2015, but he doesn't want this expansion. Sadiq Khan's odious unjustified tax on driving, the new Ulez charge he wants to bring in from August. These days Boris Johnson's a former Prime Minister and a former MP, and in late July the constituency of Uxbridge and South Ruislip held a by-election to replace him. It's an area in West London that's affected by Ulez's expansion and the victorious Conservative candidate opposes it. He says that's why he won. Sadiq Khan has lost Labour this election and we know that it was his damaging and costly Ulez policy that lost in this election and on Ulez making the difference. The leader of the Labour Party, Saki Astama, agrees the mayor needs to reflect on it, but because it was the reason we didn't win in Uxbridge. Sources close to Sadiq Khan told the BBC he was in constructive listening mode, but while the mayor may be listening, he hasn't sounded like a man about to change tack. The decision to expand the ultra-emission zone was a tough one, but it's the right one. Why? Because every year across our city, roughly speaking, 4,000 people die prematurely. That's a reference to this report by Imperial College London. It was commissioned by the mayor and it estimated that in 2019 the equivalent of around 4,000 deaths in London could be attributed to air pollution. This calculation hasn't been repeated for the years since, and if that's an estimate of the impact of air pollution, Sadiq Khan argues it's particularly felt beyond central London. Those who live in outer London are more likely to have asthma than other parts of our city. Those that live in outer London die more because of the toxic air. Now overall levels of pollution in outer London are lower than in central London. However, as we've heard, Imperial College has looked to estimate the number of deaths caused by air pollution, and it concludes the greatest burden falls in outer London boroughs. It says this is mainly due to the higher proportion of the elderly in these areas and on asthma. One charity has released data showing 24 out of the 30 GP surgeries with the highest rates of asthma prevalence are in outer London, and the mayor has a broader point too. In April, City Hall declared that every borough in London exceeds World Health Organization limits for toxic pollution now, whose limits are stricter than the UK's legal limits, and almost all of London is forecast to meet the UK's limits. Ulez expansion or not, nonetheless, Sadiq Khan is asking this question: if it's good enough for those in central London, why isn't it good enough for those in Alta London? And Mr. Khan is hearing a lot of replies, not least from Bexley and 4 other councils, which triggered a judicial review over the expansion, and they argue it's a major concern for Londoners. I don't think we've ever had an issue like this that has actually gone at so much attention. The Hugo poll last year recorded 51% of Londoners said they support the Ulez expansion, 27% said they opposed it, and those Londoners who opposed the expansion highlight a number of reasons, one being that they don't believe this expansion will actually make much difference, so the impact expected on air quality is very small, almost no change in PM 2.5 particulates, only a 1.5% roughly reduction in nitrogen dioxide, which is a very small change in air quality. Those figures come from an independent report that was commissioned by the mayor, but Mr. Khan argues even low percentage change